Hello everyone. Welcome back to Explorewithsu. Today we're diving into a story making international headlines. The arrest of Simonekpa, a controversial figure in the fight for Biafran independence. Is he a mastermind of unrest or a victim of suppression? Let's explore. Recent reports indicate that Finnish police arrested Simonekpa alongside 4 others on charges related to incitement and financing terrorism. According to Finland's National Bureau of Investigation, Ekpa is suspected of publicly urging people to commit crimes with terrorist intent, claims tied to his alleged use of social media to promote violence in southeastern Nigeria. But here's where it gets interesting. While authorities have raised serious accusations, Finnish police have stated that Simonekpa has no direct connections to any terrorist organizations. Instead, the focus seems to be on his individual actions and the alleged role his social media influence played in fueling violence and instability. Simonekpa's rise to prominence began as a self-proclaimed disciple of Motsi Nnamdi Kanu, the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, or IPOB. Kanu, who has been unlawfully detained and incarcerated by Nigerian authorities, is considered by many as the face of the Biafran independence movement. Ekpa stepped into the spotlight to continue Kanu's advocacy, but not without controversy.
The Prime Minister of the Biafra Republic, government in exile, Simonekpa, following recent developments in Finland. On Thursday, 21st, 2024, Finnish authorities detained Prime Minister Simonekpa in Lahti on allegations of public incitement to commit a crime with purported terrorist intent. However, according to a detailed report from MTV Uutiset, Crime Commissioner Otto Hiltunen, who is leading the investigation, clarified that the ongoing inquiry has revealed no reason to suspect any connections to terrorist organizations. This statement directly refutes attempts by the Nigerian government to label the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, and the Biafra Republic government in exile as terrorist entities. It is essential to highlight that neither the European Union nor Finland has classified IPOB or the government in exile as terrorist organizations. Prime Minister Simonekpa, a respected political leader and advocate for the self-determination of Biafrans, continues to lead the government in exile with a commitment to peaceful and legal efforts aimed at achieving independence for the Biafran people. Despite efforts to undermine his leadership, he remains a symbol of resilience and determination for millions of Biafrans around the world. The Nigerian government has historically accused IPOB of violence, but these claims remain unverified, particularly concerning the Prime Minister's role. Instead, the Biafra Republic government in exile has consistently emphasized its dedication to democratic principles, rule of law, and non-violent advocacy for freedom. This recent development highlights the challenges faced by self-determination movements and leaders advocating for justice and equality. The arrest of Prime Minister Simonekpa has drawn international attention, with supporters worldwide condemning the suppression of the Biafran cause and calling for transparency and justice.
So here's the big question. Is Simonekpa truly responsible for the insecurities plaguing southeastern Nigeria? Or is this a calculated move to silence a loud voice calling for self-determination? And let's not forget, what if the violence attributed to Biafran agitators is being orchestrated by entirely different forces? Ekpa has repeatedly stated that he advocates for self-defense, not violence. He insists that he's fighting for the rights of the Igbo people, who have long felt marginalized in Nigeria. But authorities claim his words, broadcast to millions through social media, have incited violence. Despite these claims, Finnish police haven't connected him to any terrorist organizations. This raises another critical question. Is he being singled out for his advocacy, or are there deeper, more systemic issues at play here? Let's also not ignore the root causes of this unrest. For decades, southeastern Nigeria has faced challenges of underdevelopment, political neglect, and ethnic tensions. Could the Nigerian government's focus on Ekpa be overshadowing the real issues fueling this crisis? What do you think? Is Simon Ekpa a legitimate voice for a marginalized group or a provocateur inciting violence? Shouldn't the government focus on addressing the root causes of insecurity rather than on individuals like Ekpa? Who do you think is really behind the violence in southeastern Nigeria?
From inadequate infrastructure to the underrepresentation of Igbos in Nigeria's leadership, many in the region believe they have been left behind. For instance, no Igbo individual has held Nigeria's presidency since its independence in 1960. Additionally, southeastern states have consistently struggled with federal resource allocation, leaving critical infrastructure in disrepair. The frustrations of the Igbo people gave rise to movements like IPOB. These groups demand independence, arguing that years of economic, political, and social exclusion justify their calls for self-determination. Their actions, from peaceful protests to more direct demands, are aimed at drawing attention to their plight. However, since the Nigerian government has labeled IPOB as a non-organization, this designation has sparked intense debate. Many argue that it's an attempt to silence voices advocating for justice and equity. While IPOB's leaders claim to promote peaceful advocacy, critics argue that their rhetoric could inadvertently fuel unrest. This leads to a critical reflection. What is the most effective path to addressing the concerns of marginalized groups like the Igbo people? Is suppressing individuals addressing the root of the problem, or is it diverting attention from systemic challenges? It feels like people do not have the right to demand for change. The Igbos have been seeking independence for years, so if the Nigerian government really care for the people and wish for peace, why are they not adhering to the Igbo people's request? Perhaps letting them go might just solve the problem. The narrative isn't just about individuals but also about the wider consequences of marginalization, economic neglect, and political inequities. While the fight for independence may be the banner for some, addressing grievances with fairness and accountability might pave the way for a unified resolution. It's essential to address the root causes of these tensions. Decades of underdevelopment, environmental degradation in oil-producing regions, and political neglect have fueled frustration in the southeast. Critics argue that these systemic issues must be resolved to achieve lasting peace. The big question remains, is the Nigerian government addressing the root problems or merely targeting voices like Simonekpa IPOB as scapegoats? Should the focus shift to rebuilding trust and equity within the country, rather than suppressing dissent? What's your take on this? Are arrests and crackdowns the solution, or is there a need for broader reforms and dialogue?
Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Remember, this is a space for meaningful dialogue, so let's keep it respectful and constructive. This story isn't just about Simon Ekpa. It's about the power of words, the consequences of actions, and the need to address the deeper issues driving conflict. Let's use this platform to ask the hard questions and seek the truth together. Thank you for watching Explore with Sue. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories that inform, educate, and inspire. Until next time, stay curious and stay engaged.